This is the 262 hearing, which means it has to happen 14 days after you got the paperwork.
Right, through here.
Okay.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is it's like a mini trial where we're asking the judge to keep the kids with you, not take them away and give them to CPS.
So I'm basically guilty before proven innocent?
No.
Is that how the system works now? If there's any faith in the court system whatsoever in this universe, then I think that everything will be fine because I am innocent!
Okay. We're going to go in there. We're going to have a hearing. The judge is going to make orders about probably services, things like drug testing or classes that you can do. And you're going to get assigned a CPS caseworker, and you may get assigned something called a CASA advocate who's going to work with you and your family. And the whole reason for this is to put the kids back with you and make sure they'll be safe. When they call us in, let me do as much talking as possible. They may put you on the stand. Are you looking at me? They may put you on the stand. I want you to listen carefully to any questions that are asked.
Do you have something to say?
Okay.
She's listening to our conversation. Is that legal?
It's okay. What we're going to do is when they call us, we're going to go in there and I will do most of the talking. And if you don't know the answer, say, I don't know. If you have a question, say you need to ask your attorney a question.
Okay.
Okay?
Hi, Bob.
Hey.
My supervisor tells me I'm getting this case.
You are, right. There's 3 children involved. Ben, who's 14, Robert, who's 9, and little Rose, who's 9 months. Mom had left these children home alone at the apartment, and she was arrested for stealing formula. Okay. There's some drinking and drugging issues with Mom, and she has a lengthy history with CPS. Okay. Ben has asthma, and that wasn't medically treated. There's a suspicion that Rose has was exposed to alcohol prenatally, and both Ben and Robert are behind in school. So we have Ben and Robert in a shelter. Okay. Rose is in a foster home right now.
Is that a legal risk home or is
No, that's not.
It's a regular foster home. Okay.
That's correct. Ben and Robert are going to the same school that they used to. Now, Ben has been treated the day after the removal for his asthma, so that's improving.
Okay.
But he still needs dental and eye exams. Okay. He's also missing his dog, and that's very important to him. And he thinks the neighbor has him.
Okay.
He's
What's
missing.
the dog's name?
Ralph is a.
Hey guys. Hey.
How are you?
Good. Who's Ralph?
Ralph is Ben's dog.
Okay.
And he misses him terribly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who has the dog now?
We believe a neighbor has that, and we're going to check.
Okay, so are you handing the case off after this hearing?
This is going to go to Teresa.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Teresa.
Lori Duke.
I'm
Nice to
going to
meet
be the
you.
conservatorship worker.
Barbie Ott with CASA.
Nice to meet you, Barbie. And what do y'all know about the case?
I've spoken with Ben. My biggest concern is I think I'm going to need a CASA. He's 14. He's pretty clear on what he wants and doesn't want. And as most teenagers go, his best interest, his legal interest, will probably conflict at some point. So I'm going to be asking for a CASA to be appointed.
I agree.
Any information about fathers involved?
Right, so there's 2 fathers that we know of, and one is Justin Harris, who is not involved, and he has been involved with Ben's life. Okay. That's Ben's father. Robert's dad is Ernie, Ernie Price, and he's involved, and he wants Robert. He lives with his mom, and so Ernie has been to Iraq.
Okay.
And he's come back. He has had several deployments. He has PTSD and some medical issues as a result of the war. So he lives with his mom, and we're going to do a home study on them.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, the court is going to call cause number 67432 in the 499th Judicial District Court of San Gabriel County, Texas. This case is styled in the interest of the Harris Price children. We do have several persons present in the courtroom here at this particular time. Let me introduce them and announce who they are for them. On my left here, first of all, we have our attorney ad litem representing the children, Ms. Duke. Next to her, we have Mr. Bob Johnson, our investigator, a caseworker from the department. Next to him is our county attorney representing CPS as their attorney, Mr. Britton. Over on my right, we have the mother's attorney, Ms. Langsley, is here with us today. Next to her is the mother in the case, Ms. Price. Good morning, Ms. Price. The court has appointed an attorney to represent the father, Mr. Harris, who has not been served at this particular time. That attorney is Ms. Sparks. She is present with us this morning. Thank you for your acceptance of this appointment, Ms. Sparks. Next to her is Mr. Childress, who's an attorney who's been appointed to represent Robert's father. Mr. Childress is here. We appreciate his time with us today. Next to Mr. Childress is the father, Ernie Price, Robert's father. And I believe this is his mother, Miss Dashie. Is that correct? Next to him. Thank you for being here with us this morning, ma'am. Now, I believe we have other persons from the department, the agency in the audience, as well as CASA in the audience at this particular time. And so those are the persons that we do have present. We are here today for our adversary hearing. My understanding is that there's no agreement in this particular case as to temporary orders. So we will be proceeding with our adversary hearing here in a moment. Thank you for already identifying with the court that service issues have been completed with regards to the two parents who are present. I know we're continuing to seek service on your client, Ms. Sparks, and we may address that later. As we know, paternity has been established, I believe, previously for the older two children, and so we know that Mr. Price is, in fact, the legal father at this time of the child, Robert. We know that previously a court has adjudicated Mr. Harris as the father of the older child, Ben, so that issue has been resolved. We do know that we have an unknown father. That's my understanding. We have an unknown father alleged for baby Rose, and we'll address those issues momentarily. Those are the issues that the court sees as preliminary issues. I believe all those issues have been resolved at this particular time. We've identified who's here, and I believe at this point we're ready for evidence from the agency. So, Mr. Britton, do you have a witness to call at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. We would call the children's mother, Kathy Price.
All right, Ms. Price, would you scoot out, please, and come have a seat right up here? Thank you, Ms. Price. Will you please raise your right hand to be sworn at this time? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you give before this court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you. Will you please have a seat? Now, will you please state your name for the court?
Kathy Price.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Mr. Britton, do you have questions for this witness at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. Would you state your name for the record?
Kathy Price.
Ms. Price, do you understand that everything that you say is being recorded today?
Yes, thank you.
And you are the mother of 3 children, Rose, Robert, and Ben, is that correct?
That's right.
Ms. Price, are you okay?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Have you ever been in a courtroom before?
Yeah.
Objection, relevance?
Relevant?
Overruled. Go ahead.
Do you know why we're here today?
Yeah. Because baby formula is too damn expensive. That's why we're here today.
All right, Ms. Price, let me interrupt for a second. Ms. Price, remember that it's important. We're in a court of law, and you need to watch your language, and please don't curse in our courtroom. Will you do that for me, please?
Now that I know that damn is a curse word, I will not say it.
Thank you. Mr. Britton, do you have any other questions for this witness?
Just a few, Judge. Ernie Price is the father of Robert, is that correct?
Yeah.
And Robert's 9 years old?
Yeah.
Now, my understanding is that Mr. Price has actually been out of the country for some period of time, and during that time, Robert was living with you.
Yes.
You also have a 9-month-old baby named Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? Now, tell me, who is Rose's father?
I was hoping you could tell me.
Do you not know, or do you not want to tell us?
No, I don't know.
Do you remember the names of the men that you would have been intimate with?
No.
Would that have been because of your substance abuse?
Objection, calls for speculation,
Overruled.
and assumes facts not in evidence.
You want to ask another question, Mr. Britton?
Do you have an explanation as to why you don't know who the father is?
No.
Are there multiple possible fathers?
I think it works that there's only one. I think that's how it works. I'm really want to move on.
Ms. Price, do you understand how important it is at this point in the process for this court to understand who the father is? Do you understand why I'm asking those questions?
No, because I've been fine this whole time.
Do you understand that?
I've been fine. I've worked it out.
Okay. Do you understand that, much like you were served with papers, the father of each of your children, each of your 3 children, also needs to be served with papers? Do you understand that?
No, I did not know that.
And that this court is going to have to determine who the father of Rose is, so they will know who to serve papers. That's why I'm asking those questions.
Right.
Okay. Well, in the future, if you happen to remember who the father of Rose is, could you notify somebody at CPS?
Sure thing.
Okay. Now, the events of the night that led to the removal of your 3 children, that's what I want to talk about next. Do you remember that night?
I sure do.
Okay. Do you remember what you were doing when CPS came to your home and removed your children?
Yeah.
Okay, where were you? Tell the court where you were actually while your children were being taken from your home.
I was in jail.
And tell the court who is home supervising your 3 children while you were in jail.
My 14-year-old was watching
At the
my
time,
9-year-old in my
I'm sorry. At the time your children were removed, how long had you been gone from the home?
At the time, they were... Look, all I know is that I went out to go get baby formula, and then I come back from jail, which I didn't even want to go to, and then they took my kids.
Okay. So
That's all I know. I don't know how much time it was. They don't give you a clock in jail.
So you leave your children home, your 3 children home alone, to go get baby formula, correct?
Yeah, it was supposed to be a short amount of time. It's right down the street.
And then you leave the home and go to a store that sells baby formula.
Well, we were out of baby formula and we were out of vodka, so I went in the vodka store is before the baby formula store, so I went there first.
How can I help you?
I want, what's that one that's called like a kamikaze?
You mean Kamchatka?
Show me, which one is that?
It's I'm assuming this is what you're talking about, right? You want vodka?
Yes. How much is the big one?
Big one's $4.99.
Total? What's?
With tax, $5.40.
All right, I want the bigger one.
All right.
Uh-oh.
You got it all there?
I'm sure I do. I don't know if I can do this anymore. I just wish that I could do more. It is so hard. I gotta go get baby formula.
And so you left your home, you left your 3 kids home alone and went to the liquor store to get vodka, correct?
I stopped by on the way. It's right on the way.
And then after you
3
stopped
minutes.
at the liquor store to get vodka, then you went to the baby formula store, or the store that sells baby formula.
Yes.
Did she pay for that?
No.
Ma'am. Ma'am, stop. Put your hands behind your back.
And you shoplifted formula and got arrested.
Yeah.
Okay. Your Honor, we have no additional questions. I pass the witness.
Thank you. Ms. Langsley, do you have any questions then for your client?
Yes, Judge, may I proceed?
You may.
Ms. Price, you're the mother of 3 children, right?
Yes.
And throughout their lives, who was the primary parent for those children?
I am.
So you've been the person who's been doing the most caretaking for these kids, right?
Absolutely.
Did you get any help from their fathers?
Rarely.
So who's been providing all of their food?
We get by. I figured it out.
Who's been making sure that they get to school?
I do. Wake up at 5 a.m., make sure baby Rose is okay. And then I get my boys ready for school, and I get them dressed, and then I have to go to work, and then do it all over again the next day.
Who's been making sure that the kids go to the doctor when they need to go?
I do.
Now, when you went out the other night, you were attempting to get something for your daughter, is that correct?
That's right.
It was not your intention to be arrested?
No, ma'am.
And your oldest son is how old?
He's 14.
Has he been a help with his younger brother and sister?
Huge help.
And
He's amazing.
Okay. And is he very bonded to them?
We're really close.
And
we've been through a lot together, and we're really close. So we help each other out, and we figure it out, and we're fine.
And how do his brother and sister feel about him?
How do Robert
and Rose feel about their brother Ben?
Well, I don't know about Rose. She's only 9 months, but she seems to like him. And Robert and Ben get along really well. They're brothers. They look after each other, and Rose is on the right path to getting looked after.
So would it be? I'm sorry to interrupt you. So would it be fair to say that even though you haven't had any assistance from the kids' dads, you guys were doing okay as a family unit, right?
Yeah.
And you love your children?
Yeah.
Have you ever been separated from them before?
No.
How do you think they're going to do without you?
I don't know.
Can you reassure the court today that if the kids go home with you, they'll be safe?
If the kids go home with me today, they will be safe. And they'll be happy. And we will get along as a family just fine.
And you'd be willing to work with the department to ensure that they were safe with you in your home?
Yes, we will work with the department.
Pass witness, Judge.
All right, thank you. Do you have another witness then at this time, Mr. Britton?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, we're going to call Bob Johnson.
All right. Ms. Price, you're free to step down and sit back by your attorney at this time. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you give before this court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. If you'll please have a seat. If you'll please state your name for the record at this time.
Bob Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Britton. If you have questions, you may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Johnson, how are you currently employed?
Work with CPS as investigator.
And so as calls come into the hotline of suspected abuse and neglect, it's your job to investigate those?
Correct.
Mr. Johnson, sometime in the last couple of weeks, did you conduct an investigation on Ms. Price's home?
I did.
And if you could just briefly tell the court what you discovered at that home.
Sure. We received a referral in regard to 3 children left home alone.
I'm calling about apartment 202 again. Yes, I've called a lot. and she's done it again. She left in the middle of the night, and she hasn't come back. And I can hear the baby crying. I know those kids aren't going to school.
San Gabriel Sheriff's Office.
And you guys need to come by here and take care of these kids.
I went to an apartment with Officer Gooden and discovered 3 children, ages 14, 9, and 9 months, left alone without the care of their mother.
If you could briefly discuss the condition of the home.
The children were in distress at the time. The home was in disarray. Hi, Ben, Robert. I'm Bob Johnson. I work with Child Protective Service. What I do is I go around, I talk with boys and girls such as yourself, and I make sure that you're safe, okay? When's the last time that you saw your mom?
Last night. She went out to get some formula and haven't seen her since.
She never came back?
No.
Well, I can take you to a safe place, and we can try to find your mom, okay?
During your investigation, did you discover where the mother was?
Yeah, she was in jail.
What was she in jail for?
She was in jail for theft.
Do you know how long she'd been in jail?
One night.
Lift your fingers. I need your thumb. And relax your hand.
Ms. Price? My name is Bob Johnson. I work with Child Protective Services. I was involved in going to your home today and saw your children. And we had
Are they okay?
Well, they're okay now. We had to take custody of them.
You took my kids?
We had to take custody of your children. There was no one there to provide for them. Is there any information that you can give me where your children can go?
Maybe they can go to my sister's.
Okay. Do you have a name?
Don't you have my papers?
We can
Don't
look
you
at
know
the
everything
history.
about me that I don't even know?
But
Her
Miss
name is
Price-
Carol.
Okay, Carol.
And we've heard Ms. Price discuss the relationships in the fathers. Have you begun the process of identifying any possible relative placements?
I have. There's a maternal aunt, Carol Hill, and there's also a paternal grandmother who is the grandmother of Robert, Anita Dashe.
Okay. Now that would be Mr. Price's, Ernie Price's mother, is that
Correct.
correct? Now, why are you not exploring the possibility of Mr. Price as a possible placement?
Mr. Price actually lives with his mother at this time.
Okay. Will the department begin the home study process on that home?
Yes.
I believe I'll pass the witness at this time, Judge.
Thank you. Ms. Linksley, do you have any questions then for Mr. Johnson at this time?
I do, Judge. May I proceed?
You may.
Mr. Johnson, you said that my client was in jail with an allegation of theft. Do you know what she was alleged to have taken?
She had stolen some baby formula.
Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Do you know what the circumstances were regarding the baby formula?
My understanding is that she did not have any money for the baby formula, that she had spent the money on vodka.
That was what someone else told you. You did not know that of your own accord. Is that correct?
Correct.
Let me ask about the kids. Ben is 14, is that right?
He is.
And 14-year-olds frequently babysit, don't they?
They can. Given the circumstances, though, we were very concerned about the condition of the home. There's developmental concern with Rose.
But if left alone for what is expected to be a very brief period of time, a 14-year-old can normally take care of a 9 and a 9-month-old, correct?
Possibly for very short periods of time, although Miss Price had been gone all night.
I wasn't supposed to be gone all night.
If, do you know the circumstances of this family, how often Ben had been taking care of his younger siblings?
Well, my understanding is that she does have lengthy CPS history.
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
All right. Mr. Johnson, if If she asks you a yes or no question, try to answer yes or no. Do you have another question, Ms. Langsley?
Yes, sir. Do you know how much experience Ben had with taking care of his younger siblings?
He has been left alone to take care of his younger siblings before, and we've had CPS referrals based on that.
But would you say that, no, I'll withdraw that. Pass witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Will you please state your name for the record at this time?
Carol Hill.
Mr. Britton, you may proceed with questions at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Hill, my understanding is that you are the sister of Kathy Price, is that correct?
Yes.
My understanding is that you have been somewhat active in Kathy and her children's lives.
Yes, that's
and
true.
You have been aware of the situation concerning Kathy and her children and some instability in their lives?
Yes, I have.
Did at some point in time Kathy and her oldest child, Ben, actually live in the home with you?
Yes, they did. When Ben was a baby, they lived with me for about 1.5 years during a time that there was some trouble with her husband, Jason.
And since that time, have you and Ben maintained a pretty close relationship?
Yes, we have.
Now, has someone from the department contacted you in the last few days about being a possible placement for the children?
Yes, they have, and I would love to be able to help out in any way I can. I think for me, I love all 3 children, but I think that Ben would be a really good fit. Because of the fact that I had him when he was a baby, and to be honest with you, I couldn't have all 3 children. I have 2 children of my own, and I want to be responsible and only take on as much as I feel like I can.
Okay. Did the department, whoever you spoke with at the department, was that Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Did Mr. Johnson explain to you that they would have to conduct a home study on your home prior to placement?
Yes, and that's fine.
And you were in agreement that that could be done?
Yes.
And there's no concerns, there's nothing about your home or anyone who lives in your home that there are any concerns that it may not pass?
No, absolutely not.
And if it does pass, what I understand you're saying is that you would prefer that Ben be placed in your home and not the 2 younger children?
And that has nothing to do with how I feel about them in any way,
Sure.
shape, or form. I feel that would be a good fit. I have 2 daughters that are similar in age, and I can really only take care of 1 additional child. It would be too hard for me to take all of them.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Any questions then at this time from anyone with regards to Ms. Hill? All right, thank you, Ms. Hill. You may step down at this time. All right, any other evidence then from the department at this time?
We have no additional evidence, Your Honor, and the department rest.
All right, the department is rested at this time. Ms. Langsley, any evidence from you, anything further from you?
Nothing other than my concern. I'm not sure how the attorney ad litem feels about this, but we would not agree to the kids being split up, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right. We do know, Ms. Duke, that you've been appointed to represent the children as their attorney and also their guardian at this particular time. Can you make a report to the court about your activity since your appointment, please?
Yes, Your Honor. I visited with all 3 children at the shelter, and Ben is expressing that he really wants to go home with his mom. Robert is also saying he wants to go with his mother, and Rose, of course, is too young to make any preferences. The other thing that I've spoken with the department about is Ben has an asthma problem, and that needs to be looked into. I don't think he has his medication. And also, both boys need dental appointments set up.
All right, thank you. So we'll make sure then, Mr. Johnson, that the CVS worker certainly immediately gets the medication that the child needs for his asthma. And also, we'll set up their typical medical and dental appointments as well promptly. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. With those understandings, then, anything else, Ms. Duke, you want to report to the court at this time?
No, Your Honor.
And do you have a recommendation for placement then for custody?
My recommendation for custody is, as far as Rose, it is TMC at this point.
All right. Thank you then. Anything else then from anyone at this time? All right. The court is prepared then at this particular time to enter orders. This time the court is going to name the department as a temporary managing conservator of all 3 children. The court is going to continue the placement of Ben and Robert in their current placement in the shelter until we can have home studies completed then on Aunt Carol Hill and also on the paternal grandmother, Miss Deshi. So Miss Hill and Miss Deshi, the court will have CPS investigate into your home to do a home study in your home. So before you leave today, you need to make sure that you speak with the investigator or other CPS workers that are in the courtroom so they know where you are and how to find you, how you can get in touch with them. In the next few days, they'll be contacting you to do a home study on your home. And so I feel like that both of those home studies should pass. There's really no reasons that we've heard of why they shouldn't pass. And as soon as that process is done, then the court appoints and grants the department the authority to make that placement prior to the next hearing that we have. Do you have any questions about what you're supposed to be doing then, Ms. Hill, between now and that time?
No.
Okay. And Ms. Deshi, any questions from you then about what you're supposed to be doing after we leave today? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
What about doing a real home study? Like their real homes?
All right. Ms. Price, I want you to be quiet. It's not your turn to speak at this particular time. We've moved on to this part of our process. So if you're not going to be able to be quiet and behave yourself, I'm going to have to excuse you from the courtroom. Do you understand that?
She understands, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. So, Ms. Hill, we appreciate very much what you're doing, and we'll try to support you in any way that we can. Also with you as well, Ms. Deshi. So there's some questions that they're going to be asking you and also Mr. Price, and we'll follow up with that. All right, with regards to the child Rose, the court is going to continue her current placement at this particular time. The court is also going to order the department to conduct an ECI, Early Childhood Intervention Assessment, prior to our next hearing. So when that goes to our CVS unit, the new worker will be responsible for making sure that that gets accomplished promptly. All right, now I said earlier, Ms. Duke, that I'd appointed you, as we know, as the attorney and also as the guardian ad litem for all 3 children. Ms. Ott, my understanding is that we have the availability of appointment of a CASA in this particular case. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So your program is available to represent the children as their guardian and all 3 of the children. Is that correct?
We are, and we have a volunteer advocate available.
All right. And so the court at this time then feels it appropriate for me to allow Ms. Duke to withdraw as the guardian ad litem for the 3 children and appoint the CASA program as the guardian in this particular case. So the court will enter an order at this time releasing Ms. Duke from her responsibilities as the guardian of the 3 children and continue her as the attorney for the 3 children. And we will appoint the CASA program as the guardian ad litem for all 3 children in this particular case. Ms. Price, we've got a lot of work to do in this case, but I tell you, this isn't the worst case that we've ever seen in our court. And I know that if you work very hard, we can repair the problem that we have and move forward in the right direction. You need to understand it's very important for you to stay in touch with your attorney throughout this process. There's also going to be a new caseworker who's here in the courtroom, and you can meet as soon as the hearing is over. We're also going to have a CASA appointed in this case, and that CASA will look out for the best interests of your children, and you're able to visit with that person as well.
Somebody who's going to work with you.
All right, and a CASA is a court-appointed special advocate.
Told me, thank you.
Okay, so the CASA is a court-appointed special advocate, and they're going to be working with your kids, and they're also available to assist you as well. Your main contact person is your attorney and also the caseworker. And you're going to have a meeting before we come back to court so we can determine how we can put things back together and move forward and get these kids back into your home. Do you understand that?
What about visits? Can I see my kids?
I'm going to talk about that in a second, all right? But before we get to that, I want to talk about some specific things that I want you to do before we come back to the next hearing, all right? I'm going to order that you have a psychological evaluation, all right? Ms. Harris?
I need to, yeah.
Okay, I want you to listen to what I'm saying.
I am listening.
Okay.
Please continue.
All right, I want you to look at me when I'm talking to you. I want you to have a psychological evaluation. I'm not picking on you. Every parent in every case that we have in our court has a psychological evaluation, and it's really for your benefit. All right, and they're going to have some recommendations for you, and you need to follow those recommendations as well. All right, I want you to also have a drug and alcohol assessment, which means we're going to determine if you need any services for any drug or alcohol issues that you have. Do you understand what I'm talking about when I say that?
Yes, sir. I do.
All right.
You don't have to pay for
Now, we're
anything.
going to have visits with your kids as soon as you can pass a drug test and show us that you have had 3 clean drug tests and that you're not under the influence of any illegal drugs or alcohol. We'll start your visitation.
Judge, can you make that 2?
That's for one.
Ms. Price, when's the last time that you used an illegal drug?
Never.
No. Don't lie. Whatever you do.
When was the last time that you consumed alcohol?
When I went to jail?
Under the circumstances, I want you to have 3 clean drug tests before we start that visitation. And you can talk to your caseworker about how we're going to get that accomplished. Now, once you have 3 clean tests, then you can start your visitation, and your caseworker is going to speak to you about when and where and how that's going to be effectuated. So that's another reason why it's really important for you to stay in contact with your caseworker. Do you understand that, ma'am? There's also a relative identification form. We've got a couple of relatives here that we have identified, but you need to fill out that form as well. All right, and the circumstances with regards to those visits will be set forth in the court order. We also know that we need to attempt to get service on your client, Ms. Sparks. Mr. Harris, as of this time, has not been served. And so at the next hearing, ma'am, we'll have a report from you as to what efforts the department has made, but also you have made to get him served. Thank you. Anything else from you at this time?
No, sir.
We apparently have an unknown father that we have alleged, and we'll have to get the process started with regards to that child as well.
And if you find him telling me he owes me money.
All right. Before we recess here in a minute, is there anything else we need to discuss? All right, Ms. Price, look, you're in a tough situation, and I understand that it's terrible, the circumstances that you're in. We've got your kids away from you, and I know that they're hurting and they're missing you, and that you love them and you miss them as well. But today's got to be the first day that we move forward in the right direction. Your attitude is going to have to change before we come back to court. If you have the same attitude throughout this process, you're never going to get your kids returned to your home. Unless you make a drastic change in your attitude and your behavior, your children are never going to return to your home. Do you understand that? Do you understand that, ma'am? So you've got a lot of people here working with you, supporting you, trying to help you, spending a lot of money to help you. But you're going to have to make the effort, and you're going to completely have to change your behavior, or your children are not going to be able to be returned to you. So you and Ms. Langsley can discuss that. You and your caseworker can discuss that. And you and the CASA volunteer can talk about that as well. So I hope to hear that things have changed when we come back, and I hope to see better behavior from you when we come back to court. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
All right. Unless there's anything else, we'll go ahead and recess at this time.
So I know that you heard the judge appoint CASA as the guardian ad litem, and our role is to look out for the best interest of your children. I know you've met a lot of people today, and so I just wanted to make sure that you understand that we're here to help the court make informed decisions about your children. We will, the volunteer will get in touch with your attorney and ask for permission to speak with you, and if she wants to be present, she can.
You can always have me there if you need me.
Sure.
Okay.
But we'll be following your progress, and I know you're going to make good progress on your service plan. And at the same time, we're going to be following up with the children and make sure that everything that the judge asked them to do for the children is being done, to make sure that their needs are being met too, and then report to the court on everyone's progress.
I want to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Teresa Greenberg. I'm the caseworker that you'll be working with from here on out, and we'll be working with you.
Do you guys have contact info?
I absolutely do.
Card?
I have them in here, actually.
Hang on to it. You're going to assign a
I'll
volunteer?
have a volunteer appointed in the next few days.
Okay. So So that means you'll be working with Ms. Greenberg and her supervisor. This is the CASA supervisor, and she will have a volunteer person work with you.
Norma, thank you for coming in this morning. I appreciate it.
Sure, Barbie.
I have this new case, as I mentioned on the phone, that I wanted to talk to you about. There's a 14-year-old boy, a 9-year-old boy, and a 9-month-old baby girl. So the kids are going to have all very different needs, and I thought you would be perfectly suited for the case.
Please tell me they're all placed together.
Well, not at this time. The boys are together, and the baby is in a foster home. But we're going to work on that because there's some potential relatives that we're going to do home studies on.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. I really like for the kids to be together when they're sibling groups.
Sure.
But I've learned in all the cases I've had, we can't make everything perfect, but hopefully we can just make it better.
Well, that's a very good attitude. And I'm hoping that Mom will take this opportunity to get the help that she needs so that the children can return.
That would be great.
So I'm going to be filling out some forms, get you to sign them, accepting the case and your confidentiality agreement. And then I'll be sending out notice to all parties that you've been assigned as guardian ad litem, and of course I'll get you copies of those documents.
I'll get back with you and give you a report on what I've gotten accomplished this week.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. Looking forward to working with you.
Yes, me too.